Capture the flag.
The enemy carrier has revealed themselves.
Enemy there.
Flag returned.
Yes, boys.
Flag captured.
Sorry, it's probably the fan. I've turned it off.
Yo, who's eating their mic?
I turned the fan off. Don't worry.
Down there.
Target spotted.
The enemy carrier has revealed themselves.
Shot caller. Flag returned.
Power weapons inbound. Power weapons on the field.
Enemy there.
One on the... running upstairs with you.
Target spotted. In my sights.
They have our flag. Take it back. Enemy flag carrier.
Good, 1 HP. Haze run! I'm just playing.
One on my X, one shot. Pull their flag.
Pull it, pull it.
Oh,
Enemy flags in
Nice.
allied hands.
I pulled it, but we're grabbing it. Good luck.
Enemy flag returned.
Rip.
Enemy captured your flag.
Enemy flag carrier spotted.
I'm gonna grab sniper this time around. Oh my
Power
god.
weapons incoming.
In my sights. Enemy there.
Oh, they have sniper in our spawn. They have sniper in our spawn.
Top mid. Where the f... Can't even see them. Top mid.
Target spotted.
Yo, last guy was low. He's regenerating right now. Okay.
Power items incoming.
Shit!
Well, I guess they got that one.
Look there. An enemy
Pull,
flag
pull.
Another one down.
Enemy flag returned.
Target spotted.
Enemy there.
5 minutes remaining.
Taking cover. We have eyes on the enemy flag carrier.
Flag returned.
You're about to be very popular. You're exposed, Spark. They know where you are. Power weapons incoming. You're exposed, Spark. Power weapons have arrived. They know where you are. You've been spotted.
Got it.
Enemy there.
The enemy
No.
carrier has revealed
No.
I'm trying my heart out for this team. No one failed me.
You're exposed, Spark. Shield down. The enemy carrier has revealed themselves.
Literally, they're so low, all of them.
The enemy carrier has revealed themselves.
Somebody stay with our flag guy. Let 2 of us push up.
spotted.
Power items inbound. Power items arrive. Enemy flag carriers. They know where you are.
Guys, I'm trying my heart out. I almost just 1v4'd him.
All eyes are on you now.
One minute remaining.
Enemy there.
Good luck. First one.
There are eyes on you now.
3 seconds till
No.
spawn in. No! Yo, you have to push it. You have to push it. Touch it.
Touch it.
Remaining.
Touch it. Where you going?
Enemy flag.
No.
Enemy captured your flag.
Bro, I don't even know how to get up there. Bro, dude, listen. I'm like high as a kite right now. And I literally outperformed everybody. Like, come on, guys. Come on. Please.
This guy is a sad man who has a lot of gun ability. He's about to go somewhere and wreck shit up. At the end of the day, he's gonna come. Now, it's got more modern elements, but you don't think fundamentally it's like the same structure?
No, it's too polished. No, it's too polished. There's too much world building. There's too much. There's
There's
too much
no like cool guy lines. There's no. I think that's an incredibly modern movie. That
Similarities are too incidental too. I don't think people
Well,
are
the
going.
cool
if you wanted
lines
if you wanted a good example, I think Dread would be a really good example, like a callback to those
Sure,
types of
but
movies.
hold on. The cool lines are totally there. They're just not coming from John, right? You even quoted yourself like, "Oh, I went into a bar and John Wick killed somebody with a..." Like you're quoting the pencil thing too. Sure, they're not coming from John. He has no like one-liners. They're like, "You killed my dog. Fuck you." But they're.
But think of how it's delivered. That's a huge thing, like with the polish, right? The way it's delivered. It's not just like I saw him and he killed 2 men with a pencil, with a fucking pencil.
Wait, here's a question. What were early, and this could just be a genre that I'm not familiar with existing like before the 2000s. I mean, I'm sure it must have. I just don't know the films. But can you give me films that existed before the 2000s that are kind of like these? So films like Denzel Washington and Man on Fire, Taken, John Wick. These types of like somebody took something from me and now I'm gonna go on a massive killing spree. We're not even trying to save somebody. We're just killing everybody. Like what are early pre-2000s like examples of these types of films?
The revenge porn.
Dude,
I think that stuff started with Old Boy. But I guess there's
Sure.
like the Charles Bronson, right? The fucking perennial. What was the Street Justice or some shit like that? Like
If you want an example of that 80s throwback, it's the Expendables, literally and
Death
figuratively.
Wish.
Like the
That's what it
Expendables,
was.
it has all those fucking characters that were all playing those 80s movies, but at the same time, it's all the same, just like hyper machismo, no real point. CIA, Shadow Dude needs you to come in and do a fucking mission, and you're the only ones who can do it. And fuck you, we don't care if you die. Like,
Gotcha. I'll concede on that. To me, what I thought like is exactly what you're saying. If you want a movie that just retreads exactly that old format, you have, I was gonna say the Invisibles, the Expendables. Now, if you want to modernize it, I thought that's what John Wick and then the John Wick copycats tried to do. The one with fucking Saul Goodman. I forgot what it's called.
Better
But it
Call
felt
Saul.
Yeah, no, but there was a movie where he was like the.
Nobody.
that was like a recap, or like that was like a remodeling, I guess, of the John Wick thing. Like they're bringing me back in, I gotta go, but this time he's tied to his family and all that shit. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's another trope like, oh, he was retired, but now he's got to come back.
This has nothing to do with Top Gun Maverick, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I just think that Top Gun Maverick isn't like Top Gun Maverick is such a better polished movie. It doesn't. It has a little bit of that 80s machismo, but it doesn't.
Just doesn't
It doesn't
take any
lean into
risks.
it in
It
weird ways.
doesn't
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't take any risks, but sometimes I think there's some charm to a very simple, tight movie. Like, did you like Whiplash?
Yeah, sure.
In my opinion, Whiplash takes almost no risks. That's not a very ambitious film at all. It's very simple, but it's like tight, and I think you can appreciate.
I
You disagree with that?
you're watching the poor kid get fucking tortured the entire movie.
表面
Yeah, but
But-
when I say risks, I mean that like it's a very concise narrative. We're not getting like complicated, expanded themes. We're not getting anything like super philosophical. It's a pretty tight, concise film in terms of what it shows. Like it tears along the screen very quickly. There's not like a lot to ponder any deep philosophical things. I think it's a very simple film compared to something that deals with something grander, like say like Interstellar. Interstellar is a far more ambitious film.
But I mean, even the first Top Gun took risks by killing Goose.
No,
Yeah.
it's formulaic. Wait,
No.
are you being serious right now? Or?
Well,
That wasn't a
I'm
risk.
just saying, that
Isn't
could've
like
let it-
isn't like Death of a Friend, especially to show like hubris in a
出世
character? Like isn't that like kind of part of a like a standard like hero story or something? Not like the Greek one, but like yeah, I don't know. If
It's
that's
more risk than Maverick took, though, right?
設備
Well, that's what Steven's kind of talking about, right? Like the risk would have been killing off Maverick, right? We have no
Well,
confirmed
no,
Top
not
Gun 3 or
necessarily.
anything like
Okay.
that.
It could have been any of the other pilots, right? Like it could have been a story about the new generation, like maybe
Hormone.
Hangman, or even maybe fucking Rooster gets chosen to be the leader, or Hangman does, because Hangman
Sekini.
should have, right? Because he's the most skilled motherfucker there. Maybe missing some team. Whatever consideration, but maybe it could have been that Rooster loses somebody, and now he's able to identify with Maverick. Like, oh fuck, like I suddenly can commiserate with you, and I understand that this is like maybe it's not my fault, but I'm gonna blame myself for the rest of my life, and maybe somebody else will see their families well or something. I feel like those could have been things in the script that.
But they went out of their way to not.
Sure.
They went out of their way because probably because it would have been too predictable to not make the hugest
Sonzai.
conflict the fact that Maverick was
Okay.
responsible for Rooster's father's death. And I'm glad they didn't
Samuel.
like lean into that because I was expecting it, and that really wasn't the
Shinkoku.
issue. It was the issue is that he blocked him from flight school.
Oh, that's
前進
true. No, that's true.
I just
Wait,
think it
aren't
would
these
have been.
issues like kind of the same
Dorikesu.
thing?
I thought they were tied. But
They
I
were
don't know.
tied similarly because of because of what happened to that was
Liso-
Rooster was that was the guilt that Maverick was carrying.
Liso-
But they didn't make the conflict between Rooster
Ochitsuku.
and Maverick the death of his father. They made it
Oh, so I guess
going back his
you're
career.
right.
落ち着く
Oh, I just want to say this is
Uh-oh.
completely tangential.
Uh-oh.
If you guys ever want to spend an insane amount of money on a couch, get a Lovesac and get the speaker system that goes into Lovesac. Watching fucking Maverick with that fucking subwoofer under your ass is fucking incredible.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen this in theaters. Honestly, definitely an in theaters
登
movie.
場
God, can you imagine how scammed everybody that saw Oppenheimer in theaters was when it was a dog shit movie to
Here
watch on
we go
IMAX and there's literally no reason to even watch it
I
on
saw
a
it
big
on IMAX
screen?
and I was like, why the
And you're like,
fuck?
why did I
Never
waste
met.
my fucking time? Like, what was the point? Like, wow, I get to see that one chick's boobs and the cringe fucking writing in that book in full screen. Nice.
Okay, the book scene was
Yeah,
cringe, but I saw that movie twice. I had to because the first time I left feeling like, I expected this to be an amazing movie. I watched it
True.
again and I was like, you know what? It is a really fucking good movie.
Yeah.
There's still cringe. We
You
can
watched it the
look
first
past it.
time, you came
Oh,
back, you're
okay.
like, oh, Jesse's giving my take, and then you saw all of Chandler, like, oh,
No,
God,
I saw it
Jesse's
twice
wrong.
before you-
And then you
I saw it
rewatched it
twice.
just to try to get on Chad's good side. That's okay.
No, I saw it twice before you saw it. So the first time I like within a week of each other. And the first time I saw it, like the whole like, have you seen Rocket Man?
深刻
Okay, so in Rocket Man, it's a much more whimsical kind of movie, and they're showing like Elton John's brain and how he thinks of music as a kid, and they've got like an orchestra playing in his bedroom, and all that other shit. And I think that fucking Nolan was trying to go for the same stuff with like all these like shaky images of stars and all this other crap at the beginning. It was contrived. It wasn't really carried home. It
Cringe.
didn't carry through the whole fucking thing. It was bad. I didn't like that.
Absolutely cringe.
The fucking part with the like I am become death. What a waste of a fucking line.
Make
Like that was so bad.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God.
Well, I mean,
But-
that has to be in there. He really translated that line.
I know.
No,
but,
No,
like,
it has to be in there. It doesn't have to be in that fucking weird way.
Yeah.
Like unless you can prove to me
No,
that
read
that
it in
fucking
English.
happened. Like fuck me. But the rest of the movie was good. I thought I know you don't like the clearance thing, Wicked, but I thought that conflict was good, and that was very important to like the legacy of Oppenheimer was that conflict. So I thought that the movie overall did a great job. The beginning was a little fucky, like the almost
Why
killing
should
the
he
teacher
even hold
thing.
clearance?
Because if you're gonna be,
確かめる
he wasn't working mission, but do you need clearance for
締め
policy?
切り
he's not a politician. What do you mean? He was just a speaker.
No, he was on the nuclear council or whatever.
謙譲
And he still wanted to work mission, but he couldn't.
If that's the
謙譲
case that he was on a council and he was being kicked off, even if he didn't establish that well, and I don't know, 'cause I don't know much about the guy's history or whatever.
True
But
facts.
that would certainly be more,
Soto.
make it more relevant because it just seemed like tacked on. I was just like, why do I fucking care if he has a clearance? But,
から
like, I
損害
don't think a security clearance should be a fucking scout badge or like a
Yosoku.
club hall pass or something.
No, it's about his
Yosoku.
career being ruined.
Well, I mean, it's not about his career being ruined if he's not
申し訳
actually working anymore. But they
He
didn't
was.
establish that he was, though.
Well, now I guess I'll go watch it the third time.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see it again.
親戚
Maybe it was just fucking Rogaine brain. I don't know.
This is unbelievable how often we bring up fucking Thrones every time.
Skyrim.
It feels like any time a movie gets brought up, it's just
Pretty.
all roads, Jesus, lead to Oppenheimer being bad. And I have not seen this movie, but it's starting to get so fucking insane. You need to do a teardown of this. I don't know if Kate lets you do like watch parties or if you
Well,
do
thanks,
it on
Courtney, for the
Discord. I
550
don't know which way you do it. But at this point, bro, you gotta do something with that other than just sitting on it and saying the same thing. You gotta like get
No, I
involved.
don't.
舞
Okay,
台
you don't. Fuck you. All right.
Stronghold.
Listen,
So overall, Maverick.
Okay. Something still. Don't worry, we can do it. Sometimes teams are shit.
Capture and hold the zones to score.
In my sights, S7
Has the grenades acquired. We've captured Bravo.
Your team scored.
Overshield inbound. The The enemy has captured Alpha.
Two sandbags, two sandbags.
Enemy there.
Don't go for A, let's just keep B and C. Actually, I've spawned at A, may as well take it. Three on C, one top mid. Going sandbags. Three on sandbags.
Stronghold Alpha. Shields down. We've captured Alpha. The enemy has captured Bravo. Overshield available.
In my sights.
Big door.
Enemy there.
The enemy has captured Charlie.
Enemy team scoring. Your team scoring.
Target
Stronghold
spotted.
Alpha lost. Stronghold Bravo lost.
Enemy team scoring.
S7 Sniper inbound.
Absolutely died.
S7 Sniper available.
Fuck.
One B.
In my sights.
Your team scoring.
Stronghold Alpha is ours. Victory. The enemy has captured Charlie. Overshield inbound.
In my sights.
Two top mid. One drop bottom mid, one sandbags. One A.
Stronghold Bravo lost.
Enemy there.
Stronghold Alpha lost.
Enemy team scoring.
In my sights.
Lost a teammate.
The spawning back to
Stronghold
C.
Alpha is ours.
Your team scoring.
Stronghold
Top mid
Charlie
one.
lost.
Crow's nest.
Stronghold Alpha is ours. You're quite lethal. Stronghold Charlie lost. Stronghold Alpha is ours.
Enemy there.
Brutes. Two on C.
Enemy team scoring.
On scoreboard, right?
Perfect.
Power items on the field.
Absolute A, one.
Your team.
Let's just get a touch on C. Nice.
The enemy has captured Bravo.
Enemy team scoring.
Crow's Nest.
Shit, one's bridge, on C.
Yard sale. Perfect.
Stronghold Charlie is ours. A fitting commendation. The enemy has captured Bravo. The enemy has captured Charlie. The enemy has captured Alpha.
Another one down.
Overshield available.
He's got back B, back B. One coming dummies, dummies.
Stronghold Charlie is ours.
Your team scoring.
And one C, absolute.
It's yours. Now we keep it that way. The enemy has captured Bravo. Stronghold Charlie lost.
Enemy team scoring.
Got 2B.
S7 Sniper inbound. Stronghold Bravo is ours.
Your team scoring.
What an extraordinary weapon. S7 Sniper available. The enemy has captured Charlie.
Enemy team scoring.
Target spotted. Sniper. Down there.
Two on big door. One back B.
Stronghold Charlie is ours.
Your team scoring. Near victory.
Oh, are you fucking kidding? Let's just hold A and C if we can.
In my sights. Keep your head down.
The enemy has captured Charlie.
My bad.
Scoring.
Overshield inbound.
Oh, fuck.
Your team scoring.
Tango's close in.
Ah, shit, absolute A, absolute A.
The enemy has captured Bravo.
2A, 2A.
Enemy team scoring.
Target
Sandbags, sandbags.
Tango's close.
He didn't pop over still there, Wally.
What? We're only 3 away.
Enemy there.
man, absolute A. 2A.
Target spotted.
Sandbags drop down. Whoever's Wally.
We captured Alpha. Your team scoring.
GG.
Victory.
These fellas.
What's that mode called? Strongholds.
Yo, what's up everyone? Today I'm going to be talking about the Tenrai 3 event that 343 have just added to Halo Infinite. Along with it have come 8 Tenrai themed maps created by the Forge community, and they are absolutely beautiful. Seriously, they are mind-blowing. As beautiful as the maps are, unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of the game mode they went with for this event. Basically just Ninja Slayer and game modes based off of that. The maps are still beautiful. I would have loved to have run about in Fiesta or just BR or AR lootout starts just to kind of experience the map with regular weapons. Instead, every single map you have to use energy sword and grapple, and it's a little bit repetitive in my opinion. So this is by far the best event 343 have ever done, simply because of the amount of work and effort put in by every single person involved. From 343 down to the community members, it really gets everyone together. I just wish that the game mode they chose for it was a little bit more universal. You know, maybe have a Fiesta, have a Ninja Slayer, have a regular lootout. You know, just have a bunch of different ones in there so everyone has a chance to play something they enjoy. I can play maybe like 10 games of Ninja Slayer before I'm completely over it. But I put together some highlights from my stream last night, so hopefully you enjoyed them. I did pop off a couple of times, if I'm being honest. So if you do enjoy, drop a like down below, subscribe if you're brand new. I'm getting very, very close to 120,000 subscribers. All of you are very much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I shall catch you in the next video very soon.
I heard Halo Infinite has improved quite a bit since the last time I played it. 343's apparently gotten quite good at making adjustments to playlists when needed and rolling out community-made maps into the matchmaking circulation to make sure the map pool is a bit more varied. Infinite still has a ways to go, but sentiment seems to be that the game is finally in a decent spot, so I actually ended up playing it. And it's become something of a morning ritual for my wife and I. We've been having a really good time, and there's even some areas of the game that I was surprised to see got facelifts and improvements. Has Halo Infinite improved a lot since I last played it? Well, let's talk about that. After I pay the bills, of course. Today's video is brought to you by our partners. Aura can identify loading multiple/latent. Husky Raid is a mode that absolutely blew up in Halo 4. It went on to become something of an iconic Halo 5 mode itself, and it finally made its way into Halo Infinite sometime in the last few months. And it may be one of my favorite modes in the game, believe it or not. It's unfortunately a limited time rotational playlist right now, but I hope 343 finds a spot for it as a permanent mode, because I really enjoyed my time when it finally landed. Husky Raid maps are designed to be kind of like long hallways, and players will spawn with randomized weapons and gadgets. The goal of Husky Raid is to push across these hallway maps into the enemy team's spawn on the other side, and take their flag back to your end of the hallway. It can get pretty intense. Gadgets like the Shroud Screen and Drop Wall are pretty key to winning, and when the momentum really begins to pick up, your team getting more and more ground with each passing second, it's a great way to get the heart pounding. The maps are also pretty solid too. All maps are community created, and they're pretty varied in their designs. There's the steampunk one, there's a neon city one, and my absolute favorite, a shrunken version of Valhalla called Smallhalla. I couldn't believe what I was playing on, just running around this super zombie stacks to get the survivors value. Through AI, he infects and takes
Good movie.
Maverick, listen, I feel like we should come away from that being embarrassed that 60-year-old Tom Cruise is in a movie about him being the guy. Like,
He's a
he
fucking
was
legend.
that guy.
He's dressing like
He is that guy. He's literally that guy.
He is. In real life, he's that guy. He's the guy.
He does his own stunts. He flies the planes himself.
Yeah.
He's this fucking guy.
Listen, man, I hate this. Like, I feel like there's this new trend that's, you know, accelerated even from beyond where it was 20, 30 years ago, where people are just afraid to grow up, or, you know, like we want to just cling to our 20s and 30s. And
yeah, and he's clinging better than some 20 and 30-year-olds are.
Because there's so much G-force under his ass because he's flying that goddamn plane.
Also, last question about that specific topic, but did you watch Oppenheimer Destiny on 70mm film IMAX or? With
Oh my god, no! I think I watched it on the
IMAX?
Pretend IMAX. Maybe that's why I didn't get the full
Pretend IMAX.
experience.
Gotcha. I was just curious. Just wondering.
All right, can we get back to China Hazan stuff?
Absolutely.
You guys have fun.
Be careful, man.
人種攻め
Maybe I had
る
a hard time understanding the fucking clearance thing because
年代
Nolan thought it would be so cool to skip around in the timeline so much.
Someone reminded me a little bit in chat. It's more so about legacy than it is about about the clearance itself.
Yeah, but I don't think a security clearance should be a fucking trophy.
No, it's not about the clearance being a trophy. It's that through the process of clearance, that's how they maligned him.
道
I
徳
understand.
It's how they set up the little tribunal that didn't have to have any kind of actual court precedent or any shit like that.
実
You know what
際
your mom told you?
I understand that was the point. Like I understood when I watched it that was the point. Is that it was like a dishonor. But I just
恐ろしい
like you've held a fucking clearance. Like get clearances they come and go depending on what you're doing. So
真似
Or who you're doing.
maybe, potentially. Yeah.
All right, well, you guys can play last. I'll see you later. Promise. Bye.
Let's go.
支出
Opinion. Taiwan independent?
My opinion on Taiwan is that Taiwan is
賛成
the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of the people in Taiwan who
So therefore
believe
it's independent.
who for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with
Why are you being
China.
so carefully footed around
Because I know that there's gonna be a
Sensitive
subreddit.
issue.
There's gonna be a subreddit post with like a million fucking comments being like, Hassan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China. He's the Xi Jinping.
I'm not gonna put myself-
That's what I just. It's already over. You asked me that question, like in jest, and it's gonna.
No, I
go
was
there.
genuinely curious what you think about it.
I think that I think that overall, it's contemporary history is complex. At the end of the day, if the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to fucking be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean? You can't. No, there's no.
No, what Hassan said is true from everything I've read. That most people in Taiwan nowadays support just keeping the status quo, like the kind of strategic ambiguity of
The
what's
overwhelming
going on.
majority's consensus opinion is that the.
What are you at?
損害
5235.
Now,
損害
if I was a politically uneducated person, I might take that claim that the majority of
親
Taiwan
戚
prefers the status quo. I might take that at face value. Okay. Is that what the current polling data says?
認める
Yes.
Okay. Now let me ask you a slightly more sophisticated question. Is that what the polling data says because Taiwanese people genuinely
Hanzai.
enjoy the bizarro dual status they live in? Or is that what the current polling data says is because people are worried about the conflict that will arise if Taiwan did? Okay. Gotcha.
Chinese invasion.
Gotcha.
裁判
Do you think that that's what's being implied here?
They're
恐ろ
gonna get to that
し
in
い
like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe they're not. Maybe what's his nuts? Who's the
Safe.
producer? What's his name?
Dan.
Dan. Maybe
Sensei.
Dan's content to leave it right there and not discuss that it's because
Giro.
they fear invasion. But they're gonna get to it, so we'll just see him discuss it.
Okay. Ready?
損害
3, 2, 1, go.
損害
They don't want to disrupt relations with China, and they also, like, obviously, if it was a situation between like full-blown independence versus like becoming a Chinese state, like becoming a part of the Chinese
Well,
state.
do the people of Taiwan like pay taxes in China? Like, do they vote? in
I don't know-
China?
I don't know
They
the
have
exact
elections?
details of that.
Do they have like travel status in China?
But the thing is, like, as far as like as far as Chinese Taiwanese relations goes, like the original inception of the country is
Taiwan
is a fascist dictatorship that America.
Oh, Jesus, we're going to go back a bit there. But when I pause, do you see how Hassan was about to take a strong stance on whether Taiwan should be fully independent or assimilated back into China? Ethan interrupted him, and then Hassan kept talking, and then he didn't return to that. What would have been a very strong stance to have.
Second.
Yeah, I wish we could have heard that stance. Like,
Do you think? I understand you're saying you wish you could have heard that stance, but like, do you think there might be a reason why we're not hearing that stance?
Well, because they've moved on to other questions. Hassan seems content to answer at the moment. That's Ethan's folly, not finding interest in the answer to what you and I agree is like the most interesting, like the most interesting nuance of the opinion that Hassan can have on this topic.
They moved on. He said like 12 words. Hassan could have very easily said, okay, yeah, but let me just answer this question.
But this is where I'm saying, like, I think Hassan's ability to articulate is just fucked. And like I think his struggle through his words is like genuine right now.
Okay, I think Hassan is intentionally avoiding planting a strong flag in the sand because he wants to virtue signal to his tanky audience, and he wants to not step on what is politically popular right now, which is supporting Taiwan.
That could be true.
Okay, I think that's supportive of everything that's been said. But okay, hold on. I went back to 5310 because we're about to hear some very fun things. So I back up a little. Is that okay? You have 5310?
Yes, 5310.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Is a fascist dictatorship that America recognized as the real China until Richard Nixon.
Yep.
Okay,
nor did I just don't agree
to
that,
take a
like,
side.
anti, moving the Nationalist Party over to Taiwan. It
Mm-hmm.
was a military dictatorship, and it was like pretty brutal. There was a period called the White Terror that you might want to look into. But calling it fascist is another chip in the hat of fascist doesn't mean anything. I wouldn't call it fascist by any means.
Why do you think he carved out a little time there to call the founding of Taiwan fascist?
Tanto.
Earlier he said, did he say earlier they were ethnically Chinese?
So-
Maybe we haven't got that part yet. And he's saying,
my
well,
first
yeah, go
suspicion,
ahead.
I can answer your question. My first suspicion would be that he's trying to lay some historical claim for why Taiwan should belong to the PRC. That would be my suspicion.
済ませる
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
請
5320,
求
3, 2, 1, go.
China, and that's where they implemented the they call it strategic ambiguity, which I call lying.
Hold on,
They
this
said-
says that the current administration of Taiwan maintains that Taiwan is already an independent country.
There's yes.
This does not have to push for any sort of formal independence.
There are well, that's because they don't want to do like a full blown.
Exactly.
They don't want to do. They don't want to disrupt the status quo. That's why they're saying that.
Sure, they don't want to be invaded by China.
They want autonomy while simultaneously being under the Chinese banner. According
Like
to
they want
international-
independence, but they just don't want to be like attacked by China.
Hold on, stop.
Okay.
Without knowing anything about this,
Budai.
it kind of sounds like, in simpler words, now I could be wrong, kind of sounds like Ethan is more knowledgeable in his guesswork here than Hassan is. I think that what Ethan just said there was pretty prescient, no? Seems like they want to be independent. That was the question about the polling data. And Ethan got there through critical thinking. Yeah, so it seems like Ethan is more correct here than Hassan. But
失業
Okay. So there's some ambiguity in what
Jojo.
Hassan's saying because he says they want to have autonomy under the
Kesho.
Chinese banner. Now, how would you interpret that?
I already gave you. My interpretation of every single thing Hassan says is he's in a land where he's trying to maintain loyalty to his tanky audience while not saying anything politically unpopular that's going to get him in hot water. So every single thing he says is going to be in service to that. That's why I'm interpreting almost everything Hassan says.
That's really simplistic, and there are two ways to interpret that that you know are sort of
Shimesu.
accurate to the if you were to understand the issue, right?
Nichu.
One way is that Hassan might be saying they want autonomy while having official relations with the PRC and like being recognized as part of the PRC. The other way to interpret that is that Hassan may be saying they want autonomy and they want to be recognized as China, as the ROC, the Republic of China, which was previously the stance that the United States had. Which is that Taiwan was the official representative of China until Nixon, and that some collection of people, they're still to this day it's pretty fringe. I think it's like less than 5% of people, you know, still hold that. That's their political will, is that they think that Taiwan is the ROC and that they still have like hope holding out that they'll reclaim the mainland or something like that. Because everybody in the basically from the 50s to maybe the mid 80s or early 80s was taught that in school. Was that like they would all grow up and like go back and rescue China or something like that. So I'm not sure which direction Hassan's going with that. But you understand like how, from my perspective, I'm hearing this and I'm not hearing necessarily directly the PRC needs to go like take Taiwan or something like that. Like I can hear a statement like that. They want autonomy under the Chinese banner. Is he saying they want autonomy and they want to be recognized as China, or they want autonomy and they want to be absorbed back into the PRC?
All I want is that if I do decide to go back to college, I hope to God I have a professor like you, where I can write like 2 sentences in an essay, and the professor's like, well, what he really meant was, and then he spits out a whole bunch of shit I totally had no fucking idea about. But I mean, I don't know if we're ever coming together on that thing, but yeah. Okay. But okay. How does my train take so long to slow down? What a dog shit train. Okay. Ready? I'm at. Wait, where you at? I'm at 53, 57.
That's where I'm at.
3, 2, 1, go.
Militarily.
Well, that's part of it for sure. So you understand how.
Hold on, pause. You see the minimizing there?
I'm
sorry? Do you see the minimization there of that? Well, that's part of it, I guess. I feel like that's probably like 90% of it. No? Like I feel like here's my just a guess again. I don't know people. I know a little bit about, but I don't know much about Taiwan and China. But if Taiwan could take a vote and be a fully realized independent nation, then it guarantees from China that there would be no military intervention. Do you think the vast majority of Taiwanese people would instantaneously sign up for that, or do you think there'd be a lot of pushback?
Yeah, instantaneously.
Okay. So when Hassan says that's part of it, that feels really silly to me.
Okay. So the other part of it is even if China were not to launch an invasion of Taiwan in retaliation of declaring independence, the bridges that Taiwan and China have right now are still tenuous, and the fear would be that people in Taiwan would be cut off from mainland.
Well, that's what I'm
China.
including, not necessarily just military, but that relations would be normalized. If there were if there's a guarantee of a normalization of relations.
When he says that that's part of it, right? The fear of being invaded. He's, again, technically right that it is part of it. The other part of it is that Taiwan is still very economically dependent on China. So even if there was not a military invasion, if China just cut off Taiwan in retaliation, even economically, not militarily, this would still be really bad for Taiwan and is a legitimate fear for not wanting to proclaim independence. It doesn't necessarily have to be purely.
All right, hold on. We got intervention from our resident vegan. Go ahead.
Yeah. So.
Vegan Gains.
Hey.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, like, okay, I don't think Taiwanese people would be in favor of negotiating with China. It's basically like negotiating with Russia. They're lying scum. So a negotiation wouldn't guarantee anything. I think what Taiwanese people would really want would be to be an independent nation and be part of NATO.
Based.
Like, why the fuck do you think Xi Jinping is trustworthy?
Hold on, wait. To be fair to, I don't know how much you've listened to this, but to be fair to Wikipedia, I just presented as a hypothetical that they would agree to. Now, realistically, I'm sure all of us here know that China would probably not.
They would probably use that as a means to invade Taiwan.
Sure.
The answer to that question is fantastic. I'm sorry, like this seems like a cop out, but like I would just say, listen, there's a reason that I was surprised. There's a reason that people, experts in the Ukraine-Russia affair, were surprised when Russia invaded. Nobody can say with certainty whether or not.
Wait. No, hold on, stop. Stop. You're both wrong. Okay. There were some analysts that were surprised, and there were lots of analysts that called it exactly. And I started reading more of them after the invasion because I was retarded. But prior to the invasion, there were many analysts that detailed exactly what was happening and exactly why Russia would invade and exactly why. It was really, they had to. There was no, they mobilized people, they made the threats, they were, yeah. So to say that nobody knows how to do
Didn't U.S. intelligence know like 2 years ahead of time?
No, U.S. intelligence knew when like these mobilizations had already happened, but like there were guesses about it happening ahead of time. Military analysts, not the U.S. military, I think. But
that's a little hindsight 2020 by saying, well, I read some people that predicted it correctly after the fact.
Well, no, wait, not just some people, but like was Kaufman one of them? There are people that are like well known for their military and their geopolitical international like analysis and everything, and they've then and there was like, but apparently when I say I read them in the past, I don't mean that like they said like, oh, I was right. I mean that like when you read the articles up to the invasion, I think that like it's been a while, but it was like Russia had already mobilized troops in certain ways. Russia had already said that they were going to do the invasion. Russia was not successful in their attempts to separate the territories in the southeast, so the Turkish drones and everything were turning out of war. That Russia had already, that basically Putin either had to go through with the invasion when he finally said he would, or he would have been ousted as a leader. That those predictions and claims were made, and it was all like very well put out, and then it did happen exactly. Yeah, it wasn't just like they guessed and it happened. That's what I mean.
Well, sure, those are very strong, well-reasoned predictions, right? But I don't think anyone would have said with 100% certainty. Yeah, they're definitely going to invade. Like, anything can happen. I don't know.
Well, it's just so stupid.
And I would say, personally, that whether or not China would really invade Taiwan, we know they really want to, but whether they really would, you know, I don't think we can say with certainty.
I think at this point, the likelihood is much lower because the U.S. has clearly made a strong commitment to prevent fascist dictators from illegally invading other nations.
Well, I mean,
and at least the Biden administration.
It doesn't need to go that far. They don't need to extrapolate. We've made strong demonstrations in China's fucking face.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've sailed carrier goods down the Taiwan Strait. Like that.
Yeah, and there's so many other nations too, like South Korea, Australia, Japan, who'd actually also defend Taiwan.
Wow. There's so much we can learn from you, Vegan Gains. What a man of so many talents. What else
I can lift a lot of weight too.
生産現実
Why is it so quiet?
大使
I don't know.
We're just waiting for you to educate us.
Well, I don't know what we could. I think. Oh, me and Wicked are just going to do this video, so we're probably going to resume. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm about to start my own live stream.
Okay.
All right. We'll take care.
Have fun.
Yoki.
Okay.
Ready?
I feel so enriched.
Juicy.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Taiwan was.
Wait, I'm sorry. Pause again. My bad. I didn't ask where you were at. Where are you at right now?
I am now at 5405.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Nation state, right? Like so, Mao purged.
Okay. Ready? Yep. 3, 2, 1, go.
And defeated the counter-revolutionary forces. They like Taiwan has been a larger part of like China historically, and the original Taiwanese claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to what is now known as Taiwan. And that was the American foreign policy position as well, because China.
So he's misspeaking there. He's talking about how the ROC's claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to the ROC, belonged to what is now Taiwan.
Yeah.
Did you understand that? He misspoke and said China.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't catch him speak, but my understanding is that for a long time, both China and Taiwan, I don't know if this is current, but I think both China and Taiwan both consider themselves the rightful owner of all of China, where a lot of people are aware that the People's Republic of China, or China, thinks it owns Taiwan, kind of, but that at one point in time, the Taiwanese thought that they were the rightful owners of all of China, right?
That's correct.
Yes, okay. Okay, ready?
I'm at 5432.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
It's communist, and Taiwan was a fascist military dictatorship. So they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna completely ignore China until Nixon normalized relations with China. And then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall. But like that's gone away in recent years. I think the younger generations have a different perspective on the matter. But overall, like historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country, it has been around for much longer than, like, as Elon Musk said, Hawaii being an American state. Much longer.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration just because they don't want a fucking war. But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be consumed by the Chinese party.
You don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
Am I saying the right place?
No, you
they
are
were independent, and then they got
They were not independent.
Oh, they had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan, and then they got eaten
Hong
up.
Kong was bought by
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be?
There were certainly people that did not want to be a part of China. Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
Most of them.
A lot of people
there took a lot of pride in that thing.
A lot of people enjoyed having Western civil liberties while simultaneously like being in a unique position. But now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world, because like at a time in like the 90s, Hong Kong was seen as like this prosperous middle ground, but since the 2000s, like because of an insane amount of development and insane trade relations with the rest of the planet, there are tier 1 cities that are even larger and have more economic activity than Hong Kong in and of itself. And there was always a timeline where Hong Kong was going to be given back to China. They just accelerated it by like 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. Because that was a lease on Hong Kong.
No, just like the way that he talks about that, he is softer than China. Right?
Okay.
But to describe like for Ethan to bring up Hong Kong as if it's analogous to Taiwan, or that our support of Hong Kong could be as it is for Taiwan, I think Hassan is accurately describing the situation of Hong Kong, that there was always like a rightful claim for it to return to the PRC, and that's not relevant to Taiwan.
Okay. I feel like a better and more concise defense would be that the United States of America has promised to support Taiwan. We have not made that promise for Hong Kong.
Well, we can't. Like,
we absolutely could. No.
I mean, sure. Like Hong Kong. Well, I don't know. I mean, listen. I mean, even disregarding the viability of being able to do such a thing, right? Like a land invasion of China. I mean, here I think what Anna brought up earlier, we would have to question. Wait a minute. If the whole point of our support for Crimea remains in Ukraine, even despite like, democratic will, where, you know, if it existed or whatever, right? Like, I think we both agree that they didn't have legitimate elections in Crimea. But how would we argue for the international system and such that Crimea should remain part of Ukraine? You and I would, or I would probably argue. I assume you would. I would argue that there's, like, if you're absent some major human rights abuses, you shouldn't allow like, countries to splinter off because it threatens the stability, and like the dynamics of these countries economically and socially are dependent on the economic output of different regions or what have you, right? And like restructuring. Yeah,
countries can't just like without a huge like countrywide referendum that respects the autonomy of the country, or unless there's like perhaps like genocide or massive abuses or whatever. You know, maybe we could make some comments, but yeah, otherwise countries should be able to break away and be sure.
So how could you square away that we would defend Hong Kong declaring independence?
I mean, I don't think we should, but I'm just saying ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, like theoretically we could, right? Like for instance, like I'm saying that like I'm saying that like
statement.
After the unbelievably dramatic rewriting you've done of every single thing Hassan has said, I'm just saying that at the end of the day, Taiwan's position with China is not the reason why Taiwan can make strong claims about its existence. The reason why is because the United States has supported its claim. That's what I'm saying. Now, I understand that the United States might have a better reason to support their claim than Hong Kong. That's fair. I think that is fair and true, based on the little I know. But the only reason Taiwan can stand on those claims, regardless of their legitimacy, is because of the United States' willingness to support it, I think.
Well, aside from that, Ethan is asking, what if Hong Kong declared independence? Should Hong Kong be allowed to be independent? And Hassan is explaining, well, they kind of, as a matter of contract, have always, you know, like, that's different from Taiwan, where they did, like, splinter away, and they've been de facto, you know, its own country or something.
I don't think that explanation is relevant, but I could be wrong. Because what happened in the past, who cares? If Taiwan splintered, what if Hong Kong splintered like Taiwan splintered? You wouldn't accept that as an argument. You'd say, well, no, China has a right to reconquer that land and keep it.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of, so if it were the case that 70 years ago, the nationalists, you know, partly settled in Hong Kong or something and even broke away from the British, then the argument you'd make now is the same one you make for Taiwan. It's an argument for pragmatism. It's the fact that there's like generations of people now that are living under these systems and
I agree.
These structures.
That's a really good argument. What you're saying right there really makes a lot of sense. But Hassan didn't say it. He said 70 years ago.
I'm sorry, what?
Hassan didn't say what you're just saying. What you're saying right now is a reasonable argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pragmatically, if Taiwan were to come into existence today in the same way that it did in the past, well, we probably would have nothing to do with it, absent huge civil rights abuses. But I mean, Taiwan has existed in this current capacity for a long time. We've made promises to them, and we ought to back those. We ought to honor our assurances, right?
Right. The difference is that Hassan is describing a peaceful, contractual handoff that was planned 100 years in advance, and that's the reason that he wouldn't support Hong Kong independence the same way you or I wouldn't support Crimean independence.
Okay.
Right, without some sort of national referendum. Now, I actually think that there are decent arguments for defending Hong Kong if it were feasible, right? Because there are human rights abuses. There have been major attempts to stamp out freedom of speech and people being taken political prisoner. You know, like there have been massive protests that have been met with like horrible violence and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, but Hassan's not going to offer those arguments, right? And
I feel like, and I might be retarded. I don't know if this counts, but actually, wait,
it's not
I might be
realistic,
retarded. Wait, yeah, but isn't a big deal? I could be totally wrong on this, but Hong Kong is not an island, right? Hong Kong is part of mainland China. Yes.
Well, okay, so there's Hong Kong Island, and when people talk about Hong Kong, that's what they're talking about. It is an island that's barely off the coast of mainland China, and part of Hong Kong is also on mainland China. But why would that matter?
Well, because I think you can make a stronger argument, because Taiwan is like its own little kind of island thing. I feel like, maybe I could be wrong, maybe it doesn't matter as much, but I feel like the idea of having U.S. troops in an island close off the shore of China, why I say close, off the shore of China is different than having like U.S. troops on Chinese soil in China mainland proper. I feel like there might be different implications there. I could be wrong, but I feel like there are different implications there. Kind of like for a long time, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I feel like for a long time, maybe the Crimean annexation, it feels a little bit different because Crimea is its own little like thing off of Ukraine, and it feels a little bit different than occupying Ukraine proper, maybe, but.
Basically, the point
maybe that might not make as much a difference, maybe it's not as important to everything, yeah.
Like the human rights abuses that Russia alleges in the Donbass, I think we can legitimately claim are occurring in Hong Kong. And the fact that China has breached contract, right? Like part of their one country, two systems, which is, again, Hong Kong and Macau is not Taiwan. It's not that, directly wrong.
Okay, sure. Someone in chat keeps saying, call him out on failing to address the accelerated comment. It's not that Hong Kong is due to come under Chinese influence and it just happened earlier. It's that the plan for Hong Kong is for there to be a huge land integration into China with the hope that China becomes more like Western democracies in the meantime, and the acceleration is a hostile takeover.
I think I just did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it did. Did I address it with satisfaction already?
Well, I don't know. That guy was making that comment, so. All right. Okay, I'm at 56, 51. Where are you at?
一番足が速い陸上動物といえばチーターでしょう。So the people of Hong Kong, there were certainly a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want
regardless
to be a part
of
the Chinese state, but overall, if you look at the situation in Hong Kong right now, it's like they claimed that it was going to be devastating, and that has not happened.
Not that we know of, because they have no freedom of speech anymore.
Okay.
They can't talk. They lost
that
their
part's
right.
true. You're right.
What are we going to learn from that?
I will not.
They have secret prisons,
I
bro.
do not agree with China's social or civil liberties policies. I do not agree with that at all. So I don't live in China.
Okay. I might be seeing ghosts. Okay, I might be seeing ghosts. But I feel like the only reason Hassan is being forced to be slightly more reasonable here on China is because Ethan is asking the right questions. For instance, earlier, Ethan said, well, what about Hong Kong? And instead of Hassan volunteering answers about Hong Kong, Hassan immediately started asking, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean? He's asking Ethan, like, it feels like he's mining Ethan for information about what he knows about Hong Kong. Now, you might say, well, that's you being conservative, blah, blah, blah. But Hassan also just said, well, people thought the Hong Kong situation was going to be horrible. And look, nothing happened. And then he was like, hold on, what do you mean nothing happened? Their freedom of speech is curtailed. We can't see any information. And now Hassan is back into a far more reasonable position. Like, okay, I don't support what's going on with human rights abuses, sure. But I feel like every time Ethan asks a question, Hassan goes from what you would say nuanced, and I would say he's intentionally living in the fog of war to not declare a strong position, that as Ethan asks him more questions, he's forced to chisel out a more uncomfortable position for him to hold.
So, again, like, this is maybe one of 2 times I've ever seen Hassan comment on China. So maybe you've seen him make comments that I haven't seen before or something. The only other time that I saw him commenting on China was him criticizing...
Capture the flag.
Oh fuck, this fucking piece of shit.
It's the worst, right?
Abby. Gammon, I'm gammon. Spanker. I'm looking at it, I'm waiting for y'all to get it. They just got it, Spanker.
I got him.
Oh, we got it. You got him? Watch out, nade.
Our forces have seized the enemy flag.
One shot on my X. Say go left side.
They've taken our flag. Look there, an enemy flag carrier. You're exposed, Spartan. They know where you are. We have eyes on the enemy flag carrier.
One more.
Enemy flag carrier.
Fuck!
We might have the return. Oh no.
Enemy flag returned.
Oh, they got the return too?
Yeah.
Enemy captured.
Is rockets up? Get
Overshield available.
OS. I got OS.
Yeah. Hurry the flag back to base. They
One
know
shot,
where
he's
you
running
are.
from me. One's in our base.
Got the cap.
Below you. Nice.
Lock their shields.
Good shots. Fuck. Oh my god. You lucky fuck.
Power weapons now available.
Fucking ran through those guys. They spawned right on their flag. Let's get it. Yeah, let's push their base. I'm here with you. There might be one in ours.
Yeah, I'm covering it. There's 2 here. Fuck. They're taking it our right.
I'm gonna go for the return. Yeah, I know, but
They're close.
I think I can get a quick return. Yep.
Enemy flag returned. Flag returned.
They've taken our flag. You're about to be very
I'm gonna get shots on flag.
Have eyes on the enemy flag now.
Maybe. You got him? Alright.
Power items inbound.
One dead.
No!
Flag returned. Enemy flag
I got overshot.
returned.
Damn, overshot popped again. I got overshot rockets. KZ. Try and go challenge that. One here. No.
Flag captured.
In our base. Still here. He's weak.
Oh, I've only got 3 kills.
We're winning. We're winning. We're winning. There's one in our base still somewhere. He's creeping. Oh, I got one.
Oh, you.
2 down there. Alright, be ready to slay. Be ready to slay. They're gonna slay. If you spawn mid, just hold your mid position. Flag's dead. Weak, dead. 2 dead in our base.
Fuck me.
Flag returned.
Yeah. You got me. I think they're pushing our base again.
Got one on the left, bottom left.
Buy some time, buy some time. Oh, they got OS. They're pushing 3 of them with OS. Nade, 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 nade. I don't know where they're coming from. No. Alright, guys, run straight to their base. Straight to their base when you spawn. Straight to their base. Fuck. Nope. Didn't get there quick enough. Might be able to get a counter here, boys. Counter. 2 here, I need help. Find you.
Behind you, solid. Oh. Coming up the middle.
Wait till.
5 minutes remaining.
Got one. My bad. I ran towards their flag. I probably should have just stayed back.
Yeah, go down the middle.
Flag returned.
Oh, they let me get that for free. One more. Slay, guys, slay. There we go. Slay.
Fuck.
More slays. No, don't get that return. How did they get that? Guys, power items. We win with power items. That's fine.
Oh, I got fucking back smacked.
Rockets. One shot on my X. Rockets. Don't worry about OS. Get rockets.
I'm getting him.
They're under us.
He's OS
No!
is still about a minute. It's fine. What happened? OS is running to our base. It's fine, we're good. His OS is gone. He's behind our flag. Behind our flag. One shot in our base.
Oh my god, there's 2 1-shots.
Nerve, you gotta slow him up. We're good. We should get good spawns here. Yeah, we got good spawns. Oh, get into their base. He's going top mid. Yeah, shoot him. Dead. We're good. Come on, slay. Don't let him get it. Where we at?
Oh my god.
Defeat.
Why am I playing so shit? Why am I playing so shit today? Fuck me.
Begrudgingly, really quite reluctantly, China's like civil liberties policies, just the way we saw them, where he was talking about how I will admit China does get these things wrong, which does suggest that he's like softer in some support of China or something like that. To what extent, I can't say. Again, I came here to talk about. I saw people saying that Hassan was saying certain things in this video that he was not saying. Now, did I get the impression from this video that Hassan was softer on China than I am, or that I would expect you to be, or that I would like Hassan to be? Yeah, of course, that's to be expected. But again, I'm just here fighting the notion that he, said things that I don't think he said.
Okay.
And you're saying that he's like being forced concessions under duress because and that reveals his true feelings.
Absolutely,
about things
easily, yes,
like
yeah.
Sure, I think it does reveal his true feelings about things, but I think he's being honest when he says I don't like their civil liberties policies. I think he's being honest when he says that he would respect the will of the Taiwanese people and that their will for sovereignty ought to be respected. Because that's consistent for him. Right?
I don't know if that's consistent for him.
Well, it's consistent with his take on Crimea.
I think that after he was bullied into it. I think if you were to drill into his brain, I think he'd say, well, yeah, what China does is bad, but America does bad things too. I think that would be his position.
Probably, yeah, I think you're right. And again, no, not after he was bullied into it. His position from the start on Crimea is that they freely elected to be part of the Russian government. He thinks those elections were legitimate. That's where I disagree with him, right?
And he made the argument they were all ethnically Russian anyway.
I'm not sure if he's saying because they're ethnically Russian, therefore they should be a part of Russia, or if he's saying that's the reason that there's political will in the first place for them to reabsorb.
Sounds like he's giving it as justification for Russia to be able to seize it, but I don't know. Okay, I'm at 57.25.
Okay, so what you just said is like a really strong claim into like Hassan's beliefs.
Yep.
That actually seemed pretty counter to like what he says otherwise about race and ethnicity and stuff, and about like.
Oh sure, he doesn't. But it's because his position is defined by America bad, and America's enemies equal generally good, or the same.
You're ascribing that he has this particular position of like that nation states should be, and Anna came in here and said this pretty explicitly as well, that he's an ethno-stater. He believes that states should be comprised.
I don't think that's what she was saying. She's saying it's strange that Hassan is making ethno-state arguments. I think that Anna's position, if I understood her, and this is my position, is that Hassan is making these arguments because it's America bad. So he'll make like ethno-state. I could be, but I think her point was that he's making. I could be wrong. Anna might be retarded. Okay, I'm not here to vouch for her not being a retard. If Anna legitimately thinks that Hassan is an ethno-stater, then I would say Anna's probably retarded. But I don't think she thinks that. I think what she's remarking is that it's strange that he's supposedly a lefty or whatever, and he's making ethno-state arguments. I think that was her issue.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I would be really surprised if he was making the argument that because people in Crimea are ethnically Russian, therefore Russia has the moral license to invade them. From the start, I thought his argument was the people there want to be part of Russia and they elected to be so.
Sure, but the problem is he's giving the Russian or the Chinese propaganda arguments for why that ought to be. Or at least he's just presenting them as is, and as you're saying, he's quote-unquote technically correct, but the implication is that he's supporting those arguments by giving them.
Well, I wouldn't say he's technically correct that Crimea voted to be part of Russia.
Well, no, no, he is no, I mean, depends how you define technically correct. Like, that's what the vote said. It might have been done under duress. It might have been done with the little green men. It might have been, like, that's who ended up voting, but...
No, there's disagreement over whether or not an election was legitimate. Same as I wouldn't say it's technically correct that Trump won the 2020 election or something, right? Like,
true, but I feel like it's a bit more obviously wrong, but okay. 57-25, I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, break.
Live in America. However, having said that, you can just go to Hong Kong, and you can just go to every part of China pretty much, and see for yourself. This is no longer like the North Korea-style hermit kingdom where like no information comes out. Like we have
regardless,
we have a shit ton of Chinese people that live in America.
Regardless, bro, it's not that they had rights. They don't have rights now. They lost a lot of rights. But whatever. I mean, this is interesting that you're very soft. You're very soft-footed around the issue of China.
Okay.
You love China.
I think China.
If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
Once again, I don't live there. I choose to live here because of the issues that you just brought up, which is civil liberties.
Pause. I live here, I don't live there because of the issues you brought up. Like, what is this answer? I'm at 58-21.
He's saying that he prefers America because he's criticizing the Chinese government for removing or otherwise lacking civil liberties.
Okay.
What's your read?
I don't. I feel like we're gonna loop hard.
Okay, well go ahead, tell me.
It's such an obvious like opportunity to critique China, but he avoids doing so at every turn.
And he said because they lack civil liberties. It's a criticism.
No. A criticism would have been, I condemn China for their lack of civil liberties. He reframed it as, well, I like to live in the U.S. because we have different rules than them.
It sounds like he wants to praise some aspects of China or something like that.
Or it just sounds like he's scared of criticizing them.
Yeah, that could be.
That's my whole point.
Listen. That was never the contention. I never wanted to argue that with you because I agree with you. I think he is like part of the reason he's being soft on China is like, or at least I think that's a reasonable suspicion.
Wait, wasn't that my whole argument earlier that you said was an unfair or insane read? I thought that was my whole point.
No, I just don't think we've gotten that just yet. But like now we're getting into it. Now that he's talking about mainland China proper. Earlier we were talking about whether or not you thought he believes China should reabsorb because of historical and ethnic claims, China should reabsorb.
No, I think what Hassan's actual belief is he just doesn't want the U.S. to meddle in anything because Iraq, Afghanistan, Guantanamo, capitalism. That would be his whole position. That's what he would say.
It could be. I haven't heard enough to be confident to say.
I'm pretty confident because he literally said that our State Department and all of our intelligence's hatred of China is just based on xenophobia.
I don't think he said all either. I think he said it could be like a lot of this rhetoric could be driven by xenophobia coming from the State Department. Something. I don't remember his exact phrasing, but the read I got was that I think he thinks that the rhetoric surrounding China or the news we get about China paints China in a worse light than it deserves.
He's not talking about the news or the average citizen. He's saying that he said the State Department, he said our intelligence agencies and State Department have this anti-Chinese position because of xenophobia. That's what he said.
Well, again, like there's distinction to be made of because of xenophobia or it's xenophobic or something like that, right? In effect, like in his understanding of xenophobic could just mean like we're promoting an adversarial nature just to keep us on our toes or something like that. Our State Department or something. I don't know the extent of that. Like, and again, that's why I brought up earlier. You know, maybe he understands xenophobic literally to just mean we're positioning ourselves to be in like a strategic advantage over China. While also,
if someone is saying xenophobia, every time what they mean is unjustified xenophobic hatred of China. That's what xenophobia means. If anybody's using it in a modern context, am I wrong?
And maybe he thinks that part of that is unjustified. That's why I said maybe he
part of it. If somebody says something racist, no, he's like, oh, hold on. When he says racist, he just means that certain ethnic groups tend towards certain things. We should have like different security policies.
No, that's exactly what some people mean. Like if somebody says he doesn't like going to that part of town, just or he doesn't want to live there, just because kind of racism. It doesn't mean that somebody has a bespoke fucking like explicit position that he's racially superior and I won't go there because of yada yada. It can be like subtle inhibitions that an individual may not be aware of or want to identify himself.
I think normatively racism is always bad. Nobody would ever say that like I really enjoy some racist policies by college like affirmative action.
Disagree. Hassan is subtly implying, or unsubtly, however unsubtly, implying that the State Department's rhetoric about China is in some capacity not justified.
It's no xenophobia. I don't believe anybody would use xenophobia as justified. Am I wrong on that? Have you heard somebody?
We don't disagree.
Okay, so when he says that our State Department and our intelligence
negative tinge, yes,
it's purely negative. They're
well, I don't know if he said it's purely xenophobia, or maybe he did. I didn't get the exact wording when we went back. We can go back and try and find the exact. In fact, I can probably just do that.
Don't worry about it. No, it's okay. Because he doesn't give a number. He just says it's driven by this. And I think.
Well, I don't even know if he says it's driven by. Right.
Okay, if you want, you can go find the exact quote. Then go for it. I'll wait.
I don't know if he's like again. I don't know if he's saying that all of this rhetoric around China from the State Department is completely unjustified, or like we're saber rattling, right? Or we're provoking China a little bit or something like that, or we're doing this thing to maintain a strategic advantage over China, and he understands that to be xenophobia or something like that, or something that about China is overblown.
Sure, I think it's literally just America bad. I think that's what he understands when he talks about this. But
I think that's what he's trying to signal to his audience. Yeah.
いろんな人と出会うことができます。
Ready? Yep. Okay, I'm at 58.
Hold on. What? Before we go there, like, I don't even think his calculation is that America is wholly bad. When you say America bad, like he's literally saying, we just heard him say, I live here, I don't live there, because they don't have civil liberties. Implying that we have civil liberties here that he likes and appreciates and supports, right? So like I agree that his rhetoric and his audience likes to hear where America bad, but I don't even think it's his position that America is the most evil, like whatever.
No, but I think his foreign policy is generally defined as America bad.
Yeah, I think that's the perspective. I think that's the angle he approaches it from. Yeah.
Ready? Yep. Okay, 58-21, ready?
I'm at 58-23, so just go ahead and go, and I'll wait 2 seconds.
Take it away.
1 second.
No.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Freedom of speech, walled garden internet. Like there are certainly parallels to the American state or the Western world that there are certainly comparisons that you could make.
Pause. Really? Are there?
There are comparisons you can make to the Western world. Is he talking about criticisms you can make about both places?
He named the fact that China has a great firewall to black out their things, that they curtail certain civil liberties. Do you think there are valid comparisons to draw between Chinese treatment of its citizens and American treatment of its citizens?
Yeah, if I had to guess, he would go to the police or something, right? Like,
do you think it's so he said that like, well, I live in America. You notice how he instantly kind of like tries to half walk that back, saying, well, sometimes America.
I'm not gonna fight you on this. I agree with you.
このパンは
All right, I'm at
and for the record, the comparison between American police and Chinese police is absolutely ludicrous.
Okay. I'm at 58-36. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm there. Go ahead.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
But overall, that kind of mechanism of control is one that I do not appreciate personally, which is why I choose to live here.
Pause. I'm sorry, 58-46.
Okay.
Do you see how much it weakens the conviction of his statements? He's like, personally, I don't enjoy the Chinese secret police over the United States. Personally, do that like defangs his statement entirely as a legitimate criticism of another country?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm at 58.
Listen,
46,
I agree with that. I don't know if you were here when I said that whole rant to Anna. Like, I hate the guy. I hate his like, analysis of foreign
バイ
policy.
トをすると
I'm
勉
at
強
58,
する
46.
時間が
Ready?
なくなり
3,
ます。
2, 1, go.
But as far as like cruelty, oppression, like what you're talking about with respect to Hong Kong, the promises that Western media overall made about like how China was going to crush Hong Kong under its like ruthless, oppressive thumb has not happened.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was just that there's whoever was, you know, vocal about wanting to maintain certain rights in Hong Kong was probably thrown in a secret prison and never heard from again.
I mean, certainly there was political dissidents are definitely like
taken out back.
They're not killed or anything, but even then it's like completely.
They go walk and, you know, when they go for a beer, they don't come back.
Yeah, they're not good on that stuff.
Well, anyway, I was just curious. I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but you say you think the people of Taiwan whatever they want, and it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems.
Pause. 59, 54. Okay. I'm so excited to hear you explain that.
I think he thinks that's the official, fucking position of the U.S., not knowing that that's, again, it's not.
Wait, no, but Ethan is talking about what he wants right now.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the status quo in calling it one nation, two systems.
And you think Hassan wants the current unease? I thought he wanted whatever Taiwan voted for and what Taiwan would probably want for themselves.
I don't know what
to say. That's a conversation you have to have with Hassan.
Okay.
Like, it makes it hard because he described our official policy regarding Taiwan and China as one nation, two systems, which is wrong. Like he's incorrectly naming the one China policy from the U.S. side, and now he's calling back to it by the same name. I'm not sure if he's talking about I think it should be under the PRC or we should keep the status quo.
Okay.
It's certainly a gaffe.
Okay, I don't think it's a gaffe.
朝食は7
He's
時
communicating
か
pretty
ら
well, like what he
1
wants.
階のレストランです
Well, again,
まず
it's
高
unclear
校
because he
生
referred
は
to the
す
official
ご
U.S.
く
policy,
忙しい
which
で
is
す
the support of the current status quo, as one nation, two systems, which is what he's calling this now. It's unsure if he's
だから
referring to
アル
like
バイト
preserving
は
the status
いい
quo
ことだと思い
or
ま
if
す
he's like talking about a change in governance.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep. This is, I think, the furthest that I watched because they start talking about Ukraine.
Okay. We'll do a little bit more then. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Systems?
Yeah. Which is the current?
Like Israel and Palestine?
Oh my God! You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Come on.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just trying to get you.
That part is like literally. I mean, that is a.
良くないと思い
I mean,
ます
that's an advocacy in the opposite direction, in my opinion, where
independence for Taiwan. You heard it here from Hassan.
Because remember, like the overwhelming majority of people living in Taiwan are still Han Chinese. Therefore, despite the fact that it's a separate country, it's still like the same people. The language is the same. People will say
Ukraine belongs to Russia for that exact reason.
I don't think Ukraine belongs to Russia because Ukrainian nation state. The Ukrainian nation-state project, there are similarities, you're not wrong about that, but the Ukrainian nation-state project as a well-defined nation-state has always has been around for much longer than like Taiwan being an independent nation-state.
So the people's entitlement to freedom.
Like you can make a better argument for Crimea being a separate country.
But like, what I'm hearing is that it's just a function of how old their culture is.
Pause for a second. I'm sorry. How long has Taiwan been in its current position?
1950s.
So what does Hassan mean there?
So
that Ukraine was a separate nation state longer than Taiwan was, because
maybe
it wasn't.
previous to
Didn't
the Soviet
Ukraine?
Union.
Is that what we're talking about now?
I have no fucking idea. I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. And the charitable reading is that I mentioned this earlier when Anna was in here. Like the political will towards maintaining the status quo would be to keep some relations open between Taiwan and China, because people do like if you talk to Taiwanese people, like sometimes they will begrudgingly describe themselves as Chinese because they'll have to know that they have the caveat, but we don't like the mainland, we don't like the PRC or something like that, but our heritage is that of China, right? Like the kinship they feel with the China that existed pre-PRC still exists among Taiwanese people, less and less with each passing generation. But so like any will to reintegrate, and by the way, if you read polling on reintegration with China, it's complex and it's made difficult by the fact that like you have to delineate based on under like ideal auspices or under the current auspices. Obviously, the will to reintegrate with China under the current auspices of being governed by the PRC are very low, but overall, like combined between all the different caveats you can have, the will for some reintegration is actually pretty high. I think it's like as high as maybe 30 or 40% or something like that, if not maybe more. But like there is some sort of like
is that 30 or 40%? Again, I'm just guessing without knowing anything about the specifics. Is that 30 or 40% caveated that Taiwan can still operate like semi-autonomously, or is that for
the majority?
That's a pretty that's a pretty big caveat. But okay.
Yeah, well, they haven't really even talked about that yet.
Okay.
But yeah, and it may be higher. Like, I would have to look at this. Depending on how you measure this, it can be like I think it could even arise to the majority. Like if you ask people under the most ideal circumstances, would you like Taiwan to reintegrate with China? I think like even a majority might answer yes, because they're literally like maybe even thinking that that the PRC crumbles or something like that. But yeah, it's difficult. And I think the most charitable reading of what the fuck Hassan is talking about here is basically just describing that this is a relevant point in Taiwanese politics. The fact that there is like a lingering Chinese identity.
Okay, you got a lot out of that, but from him, but okay. Okay, I'm at 101.24. Is that okay? 3, 2, 1, go.
Entitled Dare to Freedom.
What?
Real quick,
Yeah.
I don't know how much Hassan knows about this.
Okay, because
Right?
you said multiple times that it sounded like he read into. I don't know what you meant by that statement.
So it does sound like he's familiar.
Okay.
More familiar than the average
wait,
person.
wait. Okay, I know. It might just be my bias, okay? But does familiar with, and I'm familiar with Taiwan, China. What do you mean by familiar and read into? Those feel like two very different expressions to me.
Okay.
Do you use
It
them
feels
similarly?
Like, it feels like he has done maybe more than a cursory, like, it seems like he knows about, like, offhand, off the top of his
I
head,
agree with
he
this.
knows,
Yeah.
he knows about Taiwanese, like, polling, right?
Well,
like, recent Taiwanese polling about like, how they like to claim, keeping the status quo versus independence versus, reintegrating with China or something like that.
I
Like,
don't
it
know
seems
about
like
that,
this is,
but maybe.
Well, it came up earlier, remember?
Sure,
When
but he
Dan
could
was
know
saying
about that polling because a lot of this polling, depending on how you read it, lays into really good tanky talking points. Like, for instance, if somebody tells me, did you know that a lot of older people in Soviet satellite states, actually, when you poll them, they have more favorable feelings towards the Soviet Union than not? Now, when I hear that, my impression would be, oh, wow, this guy is really well researched into, like, opinions of ex-Soviet
did I say he's really well researched?
When I hear read into, that sounds like it's implying a level of research, yeah. But that's maybe we just use those.
Maybe he has
differently.
done some cursory research.
Okay,
The term I would
sure,
use
but what
for
I'm
it is
saying,
he's read into this a little bit.
But what I'm saying is that when I hear that, it just sounds like a tanky talking point. It doesn't like any research at all. Same as when somebody says, if somebody were to say, like, did you know that black people have a gene that codes for aggression more than white people? I would never think, wow, this guy's done some research into genetics. I would think, oh, this guy's probably listened to some like race realist podcast. That's what I would assume.
Okay, I understand. But again, like the fact that he knows about the TRA, he knows about strategic ambiguity, he knows about the one China policy, he knows about the return of Hong Kong to China. He knows about the recent polling about Taiwanese political will. He knows about the history of the Nationalist Party fleeing to Taiwan and then eventually democratizing. Like these are
Wait, sure. So that's fair what you're saying. But now you're going. But it sounds like you. It sounds like I said when you said read into him, he's in quite a bit.
What percentage of Americans do you think would know about all these things off the top of your head?
About everything that Hassan's brought up so far?
Yes,
if I had
all
to
the things
guess,
I just mentioned.
I would say probably like 5 to 8% would be my guess.
I think that's an extremely high estimate.
Well, the only reason I'm saying 5 to 8% is because there's probably older people that might remember some of these things because they were more relevant. My guess is, like, this is a total guess and I don't know if this is true, but my guess is going to be like in the era of, say, like the Vietnam War, we were probably a lot more interested in stuff happening in that region of the world, so more people would have known about China and Taiwan. That'd be my guess, and Hong Kong. That'd be my guess. I could be wrong, but that'd be right.
Did you know about all these things before this conversation?
Before this conversation, I'd heard, I don't know, I feel like I know probably about 90% of what Hassan was talking about from before this conversation, but only because I've looked up things cursory to Taiwan because a lot of people are starting to bring it up in relation to the United States and our activities in Ukraine, and I think I might have to prepare in future debates for Taiwan to come up because a lot of people have made the claim that one of the important reasons for defending Ukraine is that it shows the U.S. commitment to defending people such as Taiwan, and that's an argument that's been coming up a lot.
So you he named Chiang Kai-shek.
Okay.
Right.
But again, I don't know if that's impressive and that he's read into it, or I don't know. Like that'd be like saying,
I don't know either.
no. Okay,
Again.
sure, hold on. No, but I would make assumptions. When somebody says Pinochet or whatever, I'm not thinking like, oh my God, this guy knows a lot about South American history. I would think that like, oh,
I don't think that
probably
about Hassan.
tanky. Okay.
I don't think that about Hassan with China. My expectations are extremely low about people knowing anything about our relations with Taiwan, China, and the history between those those two specifically, right?
Okay.
So again, my expectations are very, very low. So hopefully you can understand why when I hear somebody talk, I can at least identify, okay, this person knows a little something about this. Now, obviously, when he calls the KMT like counter-revolutionaries, like motherfucker, like the Nationalist Party was the party in control of China at that point. Those aren't counter-revolutionaries. That was a legitimate.
Which goes to feed
power.
into my point that he probably doesn't actually know much about any of this. He's literally just giving the tanky talking points.
Or that he's read it from a certain spin or something like that.
Sure.
Right?
Much the same that like I wouldn't give Nick Fuentes an ounce of reading into Nazi Germany's history, an ounce of reading into genetics, an ounce of like I don't give him any credit for that. I think he just reads like paste spins from Nazis. But I would never use the phrase like I think Fuentes has actually read into a lot of like World War II history. I don't think he has. I don't think Fuentes has read into
So I guess here's what I would ask. You know that after like a long period of debates with the guy, and the most recent one, the impression that I got is after the most recent Fresh and Fit debate that you guys did, it seemed like you were disillusioned with the fact that, oh my God, this guy knew a lot less than I assumed he did. Okay. So I'm still at the part where you would have been at with Nick Fuentes, where you probably would have assumed that he had done even maybe a little bit of cursory research because he sounds like he is, and so invested in the topic that he has to have
that he
done
would have.
something.
Yeah, sure. That was my assumption initially. Yeah.
So, it could be the case that Hassan has only read the copy pastas and is just, gleaning whatever. But I think he has read some theory. It does seem like he's invested enough into the topic that he has done some actual reading on this stuff. So I wouldn't be super surprised if he did some reading and then applied his worldview to it, right? But again, I'm just giving him a little credit that he's able to name these things. He knows when they happen. He knows the players or something like that, which is more. This isn't just him applying his America bad on the most like surface level thing.
Well, if all of his talking points just came from commie or tanky propaganda, it is literally just America bad.
Yeah.
And by you saying that you're upset that you call those one people counter-revolutionaries, fascists or whatever, if he was actually reading into it, it sounds like what you're saying is he wouldn't have that opinion.
You remember my comments when I first entered this call?
Your comments were that Hassan was correct in a lot of what he was saying, and that chat was being too critical of him.
But I think I also mentioned, I either mentioned this or in the Reddit, there was a Reddit thread, and I posted in there where I was just like, oh, I watched this and it wasn't so bad. He mostly sticks to his America bad talking points. He could stand to learn a lot more about like Taiwan post Chen Shui-bian, which is the first DPP candidate that won in the 90s.
Okay, but I don't think anybody's criticisms of Hassan were just that he was factually incorrect. I think that the reason why people were upset was because it seemed like he was simping for China. And Ethan, similar to what's happened to Ukraine, had to drag him kicking and screaming into a position where he was like, okay, maybe China bad, maybe support Taiwan.
Okay, the only reason I bring that up is because I feel like I came in here, maybe I mentioned this when I came in here or not, but I think I did mention this when I came in here, that obviously my biggest problem with him talking about this was his like America bad spin. So there's no disagreement there.
Okay, wait, then what do you think our initial disagreement was? Or where do you think our disagreement lies then?
Okay, so we had a couple disagreements come up.
Well, no, like our primary disagreement, or you can say, sorry, yeah, 2 or 3. What do you think are our big disagreements with this?
So my disagreements, I didn't have many disagreements with you because again, my first comments when I first came into this call, have you been taking finasteride by chance? Sorry, my first comments.
Any of us here are finaster brained, okay? It's not me, but go ahead.
Okay, well, let's get to this because I remember when I first came in here, I said I saw your video on it and you didn't have much to say about Taiwan.
True.
So we couldn't have had many disagreements on his coverage of Taiwan, right? And then I directed it towards your Reddit, your subreddit, and I said I saw people saying or having a lot of these criticisms that I don't think were reflected in what Hassan said.
Huh, okay.
I don't know if you remember that.
Okay.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Anything else, buddy?
Let's watch like a minute more. Okay.
Okay.
I'm at 1:25. Let me know when you're ready. Okay.
Got it.
3, 2, 1, boom.
It's not. I don't think that it's like those two concepts are not the two concepts at play here. Like it's not like entitled to freedom versus what was the other thing that you said?
Well, it just seems like you're talking about like their national, they have some kind of national heritage or identity.
Well, the thing that I was mentioning there, the reason why I mentioned that is because you were talking about making a comparison between like Israel Palestine, being that the same people, I think, makes that kind of, especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between. It's literally like a mile off the coast, you know what I mean, of China. Having all of that factors into like whether there's going to be assimilation or not. And there's no need for assimilation even. They have like normal trade relations with Taiwan, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why it's considered to be a delicate political conversation, but one that currently the current system benefits both.
And so
places.
if China takes military action against Taiwan, as some people speculate may happen.
Yeah, I mean.
Pause.
Okay.
So just at 102.50. So Ethan asking this question,
yes.
I feel like this was the question that he was asking all along. It's taken us a while to get there, but I feel like this was the question that he really wanted to know the answer to at the very beginning. Now, why would you ask somebody?
Why did it take so long to ask it?
Well, because I think the question of like, do you support a people getting to vote on a thing and having that vote respected is not a very interesting question or a question that most people would ask.
I mean, he went to Hong Kong before he got here.
Okay, sure. I'm just saying I feel like that was, but you know, all right. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, boom.
That would not be good. I don't think that would be good. I think that would be really, really terrifying. It would be disruptive for the entire global economy as well.
Right, but I'm just mean like from whose army are you joining? Front line are you fighting?
I'm fucking moving to
Taiwan.
I'm moving to an undisclosed location. I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
I'm on the front.
I'm gonna be on a fucking ship.
Whoever has the best computer chips, I'm fighting for.
Okay.
I'm a chip boy myself.
If it wasn't for America, China would have. have some pretty solid chip technology, but America's like regularly trying to stop that